This is macOS Ken.
An analyst in the EU on WWDC, software updates wait in the wings, and tales from Apple TV land. It is Tuesday, the 16th of June, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. This show is also sponsored by Helix Sleep, making premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your personal needs. I told you yesterday about how much I love that customization. Before Helix sent my mattress, they put me through the standard ordering process, asking a ton of questions about how we sleep. That helped them find our full-sized Helix Midnight Luxe, which has been so comfy. Here's something else I love. We tend to sleep hot, both of us. I'm not being suggestive. The optional Glaciotex cooling cover has made our sleeping temperatures so much better. Even last week when I was sick, sleeping well into the day with summertime temperatures going up and up and up. The Happy with Helix guarantee gives you a 120-night sleep trial with seamless returns and exchanges should you need to have either. You get free shipping and seamless delivery with your Helix mattress delivered right to your door. Check them out. Go to helixsleep.com/macOSken for 20% off site-wide, 25% off Luxe mattresses, and 30% off Elite mattresses. That is helixsleep.com/macOSken for 20% off site-wide, 25% off Luxe mattresses, and 30% off Elite mattresses. HELIX helixsleep.com/macOSken. Continuing to play catch-up on WWDC and its fallout, I had said yesterday that Deepwater financial analyst Gene Munster had an interesting take on Apple's WWDC AI announcements. His big concern, no hard date. Munster posted his thoughts to YouTube not long after the keynote last Monday, and I gotta say, I understand why he would be skittish. Apple's basically had a coming soon sign hanging on its AI plan since 2024. They got pushed and pushed and pushed, and yeah, he could be forgiven for being bothered by a really good-looking announcement that once again ends coming soon. That said, has he not seen a WWDC keynote in the last few years? We can guess when blankOS 27 is going to be out, but Apple never says more than the next big round of updates will be available in the fall or later this year. Maybe Mr. Munster's misgivings come from not knowing whether Siri A.I and the rest of the announcements will come in lockstep with blankOS 27 or come after. Again, I get it, though again, Apple wasn't likely to spell that out. Ready for the punchline? Munster doesn't really care that much. Actually, let me back up. The guess on his YouTube video has Munster expecting Siri A.I in mid-calendar year 27 versus previous expectations for the fall of this year. That's based on Apple software king Craig Federighi saying during the keynote that Siri A.I and such will be available in beta later this year. The thing is, we have had Apple software and services hit as beta and be adopted by the masses, so maybe he's splitting hairs, or maybe he thinks it's going to be a closed beta. Now the punchline. Munster doesn't really care that much. He believes Apple will deliver on features featured during last week's keynote. He thinks customers will love them. And he thinks Apple's got time. A decent amount of it. Quoting Unky Gene, I'm still optimistic that they have much more time than investors realize to get this right. I think they've got a couple of years to navigate around this because no one else has come out with compelling features around personalized AI. So still a big opportunity, still time for them to get it right, and patience is still a virtue. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, the thing where Apple said that Siri A.I will not be heading to the EU anytime soon. It's not going to China either, though that's not really surprising. In China, said Apple software Hans Federighi, Siri A.I and the other new Apple Intelligence features will not be available as the company works through regulatory requirements. Similarly, the exec said Siri A.I will not be available in the EU on iOS and iPadOS. Apple is working hard to find a path forward that preserves its users' privacy and security. And them's apparently fighting words. From Apple's side, a piece from Apple Insider had the Cupertino company arguing that EU regulators' extreme interpretation of the Digital Markets Act would require Apple to hand over deep, system-wide access to any AI provider. Apple's AI is private by design and guarantees user privacy and security, while others do not. For its part, the EU says Apple is full of stuff. The piece from MacRumors had the European Commission, the EU's muscle from Brussels, saying Apple could have developed a solution to please the EU if it had wanted to. Commission spokesperson Thomas Renier was quoted as saying, "The decision not to roll out Siri A.I in the EU is Apple's and Apple's only. Apple was simply unable to develop interoperability solutions that meet essential EU privacy and security standards. Instead of trying to find a suitable compliance solution, Apple simply made a request to the European Commission to be exempted from their interoperability obligations. That's not an option." Hey, can I tell you a secret? I have used almost no AI, not knowingly anyway. Initially, it was because I didn't trust ChatGPT or Gemini or, heaven help us, Grok with anything like access to my anything. Also, I like to do my own writing and my own drawing, so no thank you. When Siri A.I and such arrive, I will find myself on the horns of a dilemma. I'm not completely distrustful of AI, though I do worry about becoming dependent upon it. That aside, trust not going to be an issue, because for the time being at least, I still trust Apple. And though a lot of people don't, I believe what Apple says about privacy and security concerns when it comes to the EU trying to force Apple to open its devices and services to third parties. It is easier for Apple to protect privacy and security when Apple is the only company about which Apple has to worry. I have made a conscious decision to be in the Apple ecosystem, and I continue to make that decision largely because of Apple's stated commitment to privacy and security. That's why I don't have a Meta Quest, despite wanting a VR headset since I first saw VR demonstrated at the start of 1990. People are mad that the EU won't get the full sight of Apple's AI stuff, and I don't blame those people. Maybe Apple will find a way to implement the EU's interoperability requirements in a manner that does protect user privacy and security. But if it relies on the honesty and square dealing of Facebook and the husk of what used to be Twitter, how much effort can Apple be expected to expend? Thank you for coming to my Ken Talk. Apple on Monday seeded the second betas of iOS and iPadOS 26.6 to developers. That is according to a piece from MacRumors. Reports from the same site say same again for macOS Tahoe 26.6, as well as versions 26.6 of watchOS, tvOS, and visionOS. Still playing the oldies. News of other OS betas from Apple on Monday. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac says Apple rolled out release candidates for macOS Sonoma 14.8.8 and macOS Sequoia 15.7.8. These were the second release candidates for those, apparently keeping pace with their blankOS 26.6 brethren. The updates are likely to be small but mighty. Notes for both say they provide important security fixes and are recommended for all users, according to the report. We will, it seems, get other updates before all of those. Another piece from MacRumors says the Cupertino company is internally testing iOS 26.5.2. That's based on signs seen in the MacRumors visitor logs, which tend to be good indicators. Not much expected from the release. MacRumors anticipates a minor update that fixes software bugs and/or security vulnerabilities. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. Where does work happen today? Well, really, where does it not? Work from home revolutionized business. You can have the best people working for you across the office, across town, or across the country. It is phenomenal, except for the security concerns. Now you have to worry about what devices they're using on which networks. Yeah, it's not a problem with NordLayer. NordLayer gives you control over who can access your systems, making sure the hardware is hardware you trust, apps and services have your okay, and connections are secure. All of that with no new hardware and 24/7 support. You don't even have to have eyes on it. NordLayer does. NordLayer starts at just $8 per user per month with special pricing for teams of 100 or more and with a special offer for macOS Ken listeners. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code macOS Ken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOS Ken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. Let's do some Apple TV news because can you believe it has been over a week? Your iPhone dollars at work. Deadline says Apple will be the studio for the Chernin Entertainment-produced Jennifer Lawrence rom-com feature 1 month mark. The film follows two individuals, according to the Post. She has never made it past a month in a relationship. He has never gone longer than a month without one. She, of course, is Jennifer Lawrence. He is TBD. The director's chair is up for grabs as well. What's crazy, according to Deadline, is the level of interest in this one. According to the report, the film's script drew interest from more than 40 producers, including major production companies with studio deals, independent financiers, and genre labels that would have been making their first foray into rom-com. The project also attracted unsolicited offers from studios and streamers. No telling when the film will be released. Moving to the small screen, just ahead of its Season 1 finale, news that Widow's Bay is getting a Season 2. 9 to 5 Mac ran a piece last week with news that shocked nobody. The site says the show premiered last April to broad critical acclaim and a certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and has since shot up to the top of Apple TV's charts in many countries, including here in the States. Still stupid fresh, by the way. It's got a 97% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, with an almost as fresh 93% from viewers. In addition to the second season, one might expect more from Apple in a similar vein. On top of the series' continuation, Widow's Bay creator, showrunner, and executive producer Katie Dippold has also signed a multi-year overall deal with Apple TV. No word on when Season 2 will hit, but gee whiz, give them a sec. Season 1 is not even done yet. The season finale hits Apple TV tonight. And finally today, we know when Apple TV's Slow Horses will plod back in. Another piece last week from 9 to 5 Mac had Apple announcing a premiere date for the spy drama's 6th season and offering a first look. No offense to show star Gary Oldman, but Apple's stretching things a bit to call the picture they posted a first look. It's a picture of Gary Oldman as Slough House head Jackson Lamb that could have come from any one of the show's previously aired seasons. As for the plot, the Apple TV press release says Season 6 sees the Slow Horses on the run as Diana Taverner embroils them in a fatally high-stakes game of retaliation and revenge. Not a lot to go on, but also no spoilers. And besides, it almost doesn't matter what the season's about. Everyone so far has knocked it out of the park. Or whatever the equivalent would be in cricket. Seasons 1 through 5 of Slow Horses are available to stream now on Apple TV. Season 6 kicks off with one episode on Wednesday, the 16th of September. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Helix Sleep. Get 20% off site-wide, 25% off Luxe mattresses, and 30% off Elite mattresses at helixsleep.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by NordLayer. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSKen at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macosken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Pitter patter, let's get at her.